The racial unrest that is now taking place and will have an effect on housing.
Good evening, everybody. It's an amazing time to be alive. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. Let's get into it.
And less than 2% of all of the people on Earth. But you know what does affect all people? Housing. Because one way or another, we all need a roof over our heads.
Yes, we do.
So, we thought this was the topic that we should drill down on. Joining us now, Jason Hartman, who knows housing, by the way, from the inside out. He's an extremely successful real estate investor who connects with thousands of people weekly on jasonhartman.com. He shares some of his insight with others, and he's here to do it for us right now. All right, Jason, let's start with this. First, have these times that we've been going through with the economic situation.
I'm just going to fast forward ahead, folks, so we can get into this a little quicker.
To go down.
If I can.
They don't want to get into elevators, and you know, if you live in a condo complex that is in a suburban style city that is 4 stories or less, you're probably okay. But if you live in anything that's considered mid-rise, which is 5 stories and up, or high-rise, 12 stories and up, I would really be concerned about properties like that. And, you know, we're now already witnessing the second wave of infection. And you alluded to the racial strife and riots.
Okay, come on, we got to get moving here.
You know, it's still unclear, Rick, as to whether or not that's a layaway program, if there might be some forgiveness, or if it will just be tacked on to the back of the loan, or what the workout is going to be at the end of these forbearance periods that are 3, 6, or 12 months. And you know, this is what the government does. They always distort every market because they come in with aid and bailouts and stimulus, and it just distorts things, and it makes it hard for any of us to know what's really going on. So to some degree, it's definitely a guess, but I would say for sure, low-priced housing, necessity-oriented housing in suburban markets where people can socially distance, where they feel safe, where they're not in cities that are having riots and civil unrest, and they're not taking elevators and mass transit where they might catch a virus. Those are a pretty safe bet, because the other thing that's happened during this whole thing is everybody's really realized that the home is the center of the universe.
Yeah.
And since so many people are working at home now, they actually need a larger home. They need more space. So instead of living in that $4,000 a month, 600 square foot condo or apartment in New York City, for $1,500, they can get a 12 to 1,500 square foot suburban house with a yard and a 2-car garage in a nice community, and they're already working at home. So what's the difference if it's 10 miles away or 100 miles away or 1,000 miles away? It's all the same.
You tell it so well. Wow, Jason Hartman, a guy who's made millions and millions of dollars in real estate, and he started as a kid investing in real estate, and we're just so glad to be able to have him on to take us through these explanations, because they do make sense. We'll follow to see, and hopefully we'll be able to have a conversation again. Thanks so much, Jason. Always appreciate it, my friend.
Thanks, Rick.
Well, for Gina and I, my wife Gina and I, it's been a really game changer for us in our financial lives. We've been doing this since early 2016, and I've been listening to podcasts since probably February, March 2016, and the thing that remains constant throughout all of these podcasts, it's not just the great variety and the content is meaningful. It's that the fundamentals from real estate investing from 15, 20 years ago, Jason first started this, the fundamentals haven't changed really that much. They're very, very solid, which means you could be successful in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s with those great fundamentals of real estate investing, the 10 commandments, and all the great topics Jason talks about, and how to read a pro forma on those things, how to analyze a deal, all that stuff. It's constant. And if you follow that philosophy and really buy into it, there's nothing you can't accomplish in that. And my wife and I moved pretty fast in 2016, and we have the same properties that we bought through Jason then, and we still have those cash flowing properties today. They're making even more sense because some of them have appreciated quite a bit. We just got fortunate there, but the information is great. The support, Sarah and the team, is wonderful. There's obviously speed bumps and there's big bumps sometimes, and Sarah's been a magnificent help on some of those things. But looking at the big picture, I think Jason always encourages us to look at the big picture, because I wanted to panic sell in one of our markets once, and Jason just kind of got me level set and had me look at the big picture and long term, and I'm definitely feeling better about that. But anyway, it's been a great experience. I really encourage everyone to participate who can, who wants to succeed in real estate, in investment properties. But it's
Holidays.
Really, I'm looking forward to a long-lasting relationship, and my wife and I really loved it. And you guys are great, and looking forward to the next event. The Meet the Masters was fabulous, and we'll see you on the next turn.
What's nice about Jason Hartman's opportunity is that it's very well laid out. It's easy to understand. It's not just about the investment in real estate. It talks about the economy and how that's going to affect, future purchases. So it's just nice to get an overall picture as opposed to just, a realtor or a broker who's saying, here, this is what we have to offer.
And just get a lot of just general information on how the market's doing, and also more strategies in terms of what makes sense to invest in real estate. We've been doing it for 15 years.
So my name is Ross. I'm from Columbus, Ohio. I actually met Jason at another conference nearly 2 years ago. Just this year, it came to the point where I thought, you know what? I need to start looking back into that real estate thing. I got a little bit of extra cash, and I need to figure out what to do with it, and delved real hard into the podcast. I probably listened to, the last 200 podcasts or something. Part of the things that I found the most interesting were regarding the Series LLC and how that was handled. Also getting into my first properties here soon, dealing with the transfer of a property into an LLC and how to handle that properly. It seems so far that it's really worth it. It's a little bit of a flight, but I'd say it's still worth it, especially with all the education stuff here. I'm looking forward to going to the Venture Alliance after this as well, getting some of that really close one-on-one time, talking to the people that are doing this, being successful at it. There's no downside to me right now, so I'd say totally do it.
Welcome to the Creating Wealth Show with Jason Hartman. You're about to learn a new slant on investing, some exciting techniques, and fresh new approaches to the world's most historically proven asset class that will enable you to create more wealth and freedom than you ever thought possible. Jason is a genuine self-made multimillionaire who's actually been there and done it. He's a successful investor, lender, developer, and entrepreneur who's owned properties in 11 states, had hundreds of tenants, and been involved in thousands of real estate transactions. This program will help you follow in Jason's footsteps on the road to your financial independence day. You really can do it. And now, here's your host, Jason Hartman, with the complete solution for real estate investors.
Hello, everybody. My Christmas decoration Nutcracker is going to be doing the presentation tonight. See, his mouth moves. Isn't that cool? Yeah. What do you think of that? Okay, I'll stop playing with the snowman and the poinsettia and the Nutcracker. I've got my little Charlie Brown Christmas tree back there. You probably can't even see it, but it's back there. Anyway, hey, good evening and happy holidays. Merry Christmas to all. I guess this will be our last live stream before the big day, huh? 5 days away. And by the way, what Ross was talking about, you saw one of our clients, Ross, on the video there. What he was talking about when he said it was quite a flight is that that event was in Hawaii. And that was actually about a year and, gosh, was that a year and a half ago now? I think it was a year and a half ago. It's amazing how time flies. It really does. And Brent, thank you for letting me know that poinsettias are poisonous to dogs. I do know that. And, my dog doesn't seem interested in attacking the poinsettia. But even if she was, it's out of her reach. Well, it's probably not out of her reach if she really tried, but yes, thank you for that notice. It's amazing what is poisonous to pets and not to us, like grapes. Grapes are poisonous. Of course, we all know chocolate is. But yeah, a lot of things are, they're different creatures. That's the deal. Hey, so I was at the market the other day and wearing my mask as a good citizen, but hey, in Florida, at least the market is open. Yes. Well, they're open in the Socialist Republic of California. But I picked up this little freebie newspaper, and it talks about Florida's economic rebound. And inside, on page 10, you see there are all these pictures of an amazing thing. This will be amazing to my friends in North Dakota, in California, in many different places, New York. Look at this. These are shopkeepers, merchants, small business people in stores that are open. Imagine that. Yes. What a concept. So, yeah, it's, what's really interesting, there are so many interesting things coming out of the COVID crisis, but one of the many interesting things is that we are going to get a firsthand look, ladies and gentlemen, a firsthand look at how different governments handle the crisis. Because we have 57 states. Well, that's what Obama told me. Okay, maybe there's only 50. Yeah, there's actually 50, Obama. But if Biden becomes president, well, there's probably going to be like 51 when you add Puerto Rico and who knows, maybe Guam or whatever. You never know. You never know. And there'll probably be 13 Supreme Court justices rather than 9. But it is what it is, right? It is what it is. I interviewed the founder of Judicial Watch on the show the other day. We'll probably play that one next week or the week after. But that was a fascinating interview with him, and he's filed many lawsuits over the years on many important issues to our freedom and our republic, our representative republic. So very good stuff. That will be coming up on the Creating Wealth podcast. And thank you for joining us at our new time here, our new time. And by the way, I guess you'll be the first to know. You folks tonight will be the first people to hear this publicly. So over the years, as I've been running the Creating Wealth podcast for now, I guess 16 years. And when we started, we tried to do one episode per week. When we, there were a couple times when I didn't do an episode for 2 or 3 weeks, way back a long, long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. And then I started doing them very consistently several years ago, 3 times a week, 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then I started doing them 5 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then during the grimmest time, not like grimmest, like the grim time, and it was the worstest of the grim time, several months ago, during the pandemic, COVID-19 84. During that time, we actually went 7 days a week. 7 days a week, and some people complained. They said they really did not want to miss an episode, but they just couldn't keep up with 7 days a week, especially because they were locked down in their house and they weren't driving their car where they commonly listen to the podcast. And they weren't going to the gym because the gym was closed where they were commonly listening to the podcast. So all those things considered, we went back to 5 days a week. And for the new year, guess what we're going to do? We're going to go to 8 days a week. Yep. 8 days a week. The Beatles have a song called 8 Days a Week, right? No, we're not going 8 days a week. We're going back to 3 days a week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 days a week. And occasionally, though, I won't be able to resist. I'm going to throw in a bonus episode because there's just too much to talk about. But some of you say you can't keep up with 5 days a week. It's too much. It's overwhelming. And you know what? When we went 5 days a week, that was before we did any live streaming at all. And it was before we really did anything on YouTube. So now we're kind of focusing some energy on that. And so it's appropriate to do the podcast 3 days a week, I think. And folks, if that's not enough for you, remember, I've got a whole bunch of other podcasts. I've got the Longevity and Biohacking Show, the Holistic Survival Show, the Commercial Investing Show, the Heroic Investing Show, the Solomon Success Show, the Young Wealth Show, what else do we have? We have more, I know that. Oh, and then we've got the Quick Start podcast for newer listeners with hand-picked content that is some of the sort of fundamental type episodes from the Creating Wealth Show. Many of them are very old. David, who was one of the testimonials you heard before we started the show tonight, he was talking about how this stuff is fundamental in nature and, works over, many years. I mean, you could have listened to the same topics, same techniques, and they would have worked decades ago as they work today. They're timeless, many of them. Of course, there are new spins and new angles and current events and things like that. We all get that because, those things are particular to whatever time we are in. But there's also things that are very perennial, and they just last forever because they are principles that will work regardless of the era, as long as the real estate game is pretty much the same. Okay, so thank you all for joining us. Please post and leave a comment below and tell us where you are viewing or listening from. All-Nighter Hider says, just came over from Mr. Gammon's live stream. He gave you some great exposure today, Jason. Well, thank you, George. I appreciate that. George is such a good guy. And All-Nighter Hider says, Valley Girl, that like button. Yeah. Remember that show, Square Pegs? Like for sure. I love it. The Valley Girl talk is so funny. And let's see here. Yes. Click the like button, please. Click the like button. All right. So we'll get back to some of those comments here in a moment. But so you've got our new time. Okay. What else? What do we need to get into here? So yes, we are 5 days away from Christmas, and I've got a few things. I tell you, folks, there's something I really want to do. We're going to do it a little bit tonight or today, depending on your time zone. It's nighttime for me. But that is, I want to watch TV with you. Watch TV, because I spend so much time watching some of these YouTube videos and thinking, I really want to share this with my people on the live stream. They've got to hear this. It's so important. It's so important. And they're not just my videos at all, by any means, although the first one I want to show you tonight is, but I've got two other really good ones. I hope we have time to get to them, because the theme of tonight's episode, now, this may sound contradictory, but I got to tell you what I posted on Facebook today. Let me just get this Facebook post up here in front of me, because it seems contradictory. It really does seem contradictory at times. So let's find my Facebook post that I made today. And where is it? Oh no! Don't do that. Don't play double live streams. That would not be good. Okay, let me get to my own Facebook page. I don't know. This is doing something kind of weird here. All right, so let's see here. Oh, I can't do that from here. This is very funky, folks. Sorry, I'm having some little technical difficulties. I went to another page and then it bamboozled me. Okay, here we go. I got it. My picture with Lisa Nichols there. I put it up the other day. So here's what I posted this morning. And I was being negative and accurate at the same time. 11 hours ago, I said, as I've been saying for years, the culture war is over. And sadly, the good people lost. Yep, they did. Actually, there's a more appropriate thing for that. As I've been saying for years, the culture war is over, and sadly, the good people lost. Yep, that is the state of the world in which we live, sadly. But also, and it may sound contradictory, nonsensical, I don't know, I'm not sure. But you know the saying I always have on the show, you hear me say it all the time on the podcast, maybe not enough lately. It's an amazing time to be alive. It's an amazing time to be alive. Now, those two do seem contradictory. When I say it's an amazing time to be alive, I'm mostly focused on the wonders of technology, human innovation, and opportunity, especially economic opportunity, we all have nowadays, because technology in many ways has distributed and flattened opportunity so that it's available to more people. In the old days, you had to have connections, you had to be raised in the right family. Maybe in the old days, you had to have blue blood, you had to be royalty, right? But now, people just don't much care about your pedigree. And that's great, because that really is a positive statement for human rights, equal opportunity, and not equal outcome. Don't confuse the two. Equal outcome is not guaranteed. It was never even intended. It's not even an idea that should be considered. That is a silly idea. No equal outcomes, but equal opportunity. And in fact, opportunity is not equal either. But the playing field that is provided should try to make it as equal as possible. And you know what? Capitalism has done that so well. Government has done it so poorly. If you think about it, government tries to do it through these stupid affirmative action programs of the past. They try to do it through, giving government aid, through crony capitalism, picking winners and losers. I'm talking about Solyndra and all of the rest, and the company that for what they charge, like, I don't know, some insane amount of money, like $600 million, was it? Almost $1 billion by the time it was finished, to do the healthcare.gov website. What a joke. I mean, an era when cost of websites dropping dramatically, but that's crony capitalism, because that was like Michelle Obama's friend, right? So they got the contract. What do you know? But that stuff, that stuff means less and less. And although it is way too prevalent, that pedigree doesn't matter as much anymore. So the opportunity is more dispersed, and that is a wonderful thing. So where was I going with that? Oh, someone remind me. Make a comment and keep me on track. I'm having a senior moment. I don't know exactly where I was going with that, but it is an amazing time to be. That's what I was talking about. It's an amazing time to be alive. And it really is an amazing time to be alive in so many ways. But the culture war is a disaster and a half. Okay. It's really pretty bad. Just look at what it's done. And, hopefully the pendulum swings, and it swings back and forth. I was thinking today, remember, I don't remember it. Thankfully this was before my time. Okay. But I do always say, what do I say? I say, watch old movies, old TV shows, old documentaries, listen to old music, read old books, talk to old people, and learn so much about the past and what it was like. And, I remember several months ago, I was watching a documentary about Woodstock, the famous music festival that happened outside of Woodstock, New York in 1969. And that was the Flower Children and the psychedelics and the marijuana and the music. and the Vietnam War protests. And it was another time when the world, but especially the US maybe, at least as far as the Vietnam War and so forth, was being torn apart, right? There, it was very divided. There were the establishment people that had short hair and they wore suits, and they were behind the progress, right? They were the people who put us on the moon and into space and all these amazing things. And then there were the hippies, the flower children, the slackers, and they hated the establishment and they hated the cops. They called them pigs and all this stuff, and now they're saying defund the police and all this stuff. But there were distinct differences between that time and now. And so I was thinking of this today. Now, this is mine. I haven't heard this from anybody else. It came out of my head. Okay. So you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first. So if 1969 was the summer of love, which it was commonly referred to, and 2020, I think we could fairly call that the summer of hate. What do you think? 1969, the summer of love. 2020, the summer of hate. And, the divisions between the left and the right politically, well, I mean, I don't know if there's any overcoming that. It's not like it was before. I mean, the flower children of the 60s did grow up. They became Bill and Hillary Clinton. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that's a good thing. But you know what I mean, right? Like they did sort of get their act together by and large. Right. And they became parents and they had millennial children. Okay. And they were the echo boomers. So it's just interesting. But, this summer, many people were locked down around the world, around the country, and there was this huge political divide. And it's so illogical. I mean, it was against a president who really, if you stop listening to the rhetoric and you look at what he's actually done and accomplished, the accomplishments are pretty darn good. I mean, hate Trump if you want, but he's done a decent job as president. Not bad. I mean, he's done some stuff that is, if he were a Democrat, like they would be cheering, praising, amazing things. And then COVID came along and knocked it off the rails. But do you remember what the economic statistics were before COVID? I mean, they were a miracle. This business cycle was long in the tooth. The bubble, if you will, should have burst. But man, the Trump economy kept it going. I mean, dramatically longer than it should have. I mean, a huge peacetime expansion and no wars. Now, if Biden becomes president, where do you think, hey, post this below. Where do you think, I need some comments on this, folks. Where do you think Biden will start the first war? Because under Biden, there will be a war. Okay? You got to support the military industrial complex. Cha-ching. Yeah. That's the deal. Democrats are more crony-ish than Republicans. Republicans have got their cronyism too. I'm not saying they don't. Of course they do. But the Democrats more so. So where do you think the first war will be under a Biden-Harris presidency? All-Nighter Hider says not China. And Bill Brown says Thousand Oaks. Oh, wait. No, just kidding. Bill was in Thousand Oaks, California in 1969. Yeah, I mean, the Beach Boys. Well, the Beach Boys were a little bit before that, I guess. But we had the Beach Boys, the Beatles. We had Elvis he was kind of getting out of the scene by then. But Sarah says flower power. Bill says fun in 21. Okay, well, it's an amazing time to be alive then. Yeah. so we'll see. I love this one. Nazik says the first war will start. Is this an answer to my question of the first war, or is this a where are you watching from? I don't know. He says, and this one's funny, Mar-a-Lago. Okay, Mar-a-Lago. Yes, that's right near me. I was right near Mar-a-Lago today. That's the Trump Country Club, of course, as you all know. And RR says Bribin. Oh, I like that. That's a good name for Biden. Bribin. Yes, bribing. You can bribe Joe with anything. Will get us into all kinds of useless wars to feed the CIA beast. They'll probably ramp up tension with Russia. Yeah, could be. Who knows? Who knows? Okay, so tell me where you think Biden and Harris will start the first war. We'll see. Okay, but let's get back on to positivity here, folks, because it is an amazing time to be alive. Do you know, and you've maybe seen a movie on this concept, and maybe you've read about it or whatever, researched it. But this concept of singularity, right? You've heard about singularity. Ray Kurzweil, he's one of the big names behind singularity. Of course, Peter Diamandis uses it for his Singularity University. And the singularity concept, as I first ever heard Ray Kurzweil explain it, was that a $1,000 computer would have as much computational power as the human brain for $1,000. And he predicted that would come in 2030. That's only 10 years away. That is absolutely amazing and scary at the same time. What does the Nutcracker think? What do you think? He thinks it's scary. Can you see him talking? His mouth moves. Yep. There you go. Scary, huh? Yep. AI is scary. Robots taking over the world. Yep. Maybe I'll get some other dolls and do like a puppet show for you sometime. That would be kind of fun. Okay, but it is an amazing time to be alive. And again, when it comes to economics, remember, as I've talked about many times, there are so many inflationary pressures in the system due to bad monetary policy, bad fiscal policy. And 35% of all the dollars in existence, this is absolutely boggles the mind. 35% of all dollars in existence today were created not in the last 100 years since the Federal Reserve came along, 105 years, whatever. It's good enough for government work. Not in the past, 40-something years since we went off the gold standard, or 50-something years. No, 49 years, is it right? Since we went off the gold standard. Okay. Now, the 35% of all dollars wasn't created since then. It wasn't created in the last 20 years since we've had these spending presidents. We had Bush, big spender Bush, a Republican in name only. We had, of course, Obama, huge spender. We had Trump, another big spender. And then we had COVID, okay, which I'll just call COVID its own entity. It wouldn't have mattered who was president. There would have been massive spending. So with all of that spending, creating more government debt, obviously that's inflationary pressure in the system, if you know how economics works, right? And all these QE infinity, right? Quantitative easing, aka money creation out of thin air, in essence. I mean, it's more subtle than that, but whatever. It's the same idea at the end. 35% of all the dollars in existence were created not in the last 20 years, the last 49 years, the last 100 years. They were created in the last 10 months. Just think about that for a moment. 35% of all the dollars in existence created in the last 10 months. Wow. That is absolutely boggles the mind. It boggles the mind. So the war is between the deflationary pressures of technology. Technology is deflationary. Money printing and quantitative easing is inflationary. These two are going to war. They've been at war for decades. Which one will win the war? Will it be technology or bad fiscal and monetary policy? Which side will win? One side is pushing prices down. It's making things more efficient. Yes, it is causing displacement in the workplace, no question about it. That's a topic for another day. But it's also creating jobs. And we'll see. We don't know which force will win, but there is so much debt. There is so much fiat money in the system. And the proxies for that would be silver, gold, Bitcoin, other cryptocurrencies. Those are the proxies that show you that people believe there is inflationary pressure. And one of the important ingredients of houses, look around. This is a house, right? And what's it made of? Those ingredients: glass, steel, lumber. Lumber prices are skyrocketing again. We reported on that months ago. Now it's happening again. In fact, if I can grab a message from one of our clients who left me a message just the other day on that, I'll play it for you. But one of those ingredients for the house, right? It's Dr. Copper. Yes, they call it Dr. Copper, the commodity of copper. Dr. Copper. It's the only commodity with a PhD, as they say, right? It's a doctor. But it is an amazing time to be alive, and there is a war between technology and bad fiscal and monetary policy. Technology being good, government spending being bad, Federal Reserve money creation being bad. Which one will win the inflation deflation war remains to be seen. We don't know. But let's get into one of the subjects I want to talk to you about, and that is borrowing money. Is it risky? So let's go to Jason Hartman. You know him, live, and let's hear what he has to say about this. How many of you think borrowing money and being in debt is risky? Jason Hartman, come on, raise the hands. Participate. Depends. Okay, well, not many people, oddly, but normally you'd ask that in a room of people who don't have the right information, the low information investors, right? And most people would raise their hand and say, "Oh no, that's terrible, it's bad," So I always ask, how many of you have ever loaned money to a friend or a family member? Hands? Yeah, who was in control of the transaction? The borrower, obviously, right? Not the lender. So the people that got all the benefits, all the workouts, all the short sales, all the deals, the strategic defaults in the Great Recession, they were the people who had the highest amount of debt. I cannot tell you the number of times during the Great Recession that I heard this. Someone would come and say, "Well, I'm having some trouble. And what do I do?" And I remember actually one of our agents at my company says, "I'm trying to get a loan modification on my house, the house in which I live, not investment properties, personal residence, trying to get a loan modification." And Jason, you were right, because they told me I could not get a loan mod because I had too much equity. They had no interest in negotiating with me because they had no risk. They had 50% equity in their house. Why would the lender help you out if they've got so much cushion? The people that got all the workouts and all the loan mods and all the benefits were the people that had high loan balances. The people you'd consider normally to be less responsible. I'm not saying this is right. I'm just saying it's the way it is. In fact, it's totally backwards. So leverage, here's an example from one of Kiyosaki's books, Who Took My Money?, which is a nice indictment of the financial services industry. And you see that $10,000 invested in the S&P 500, 10 years later, was worth just over $17,000. Yet that same $10,000 used to buy a $100,000 owner-occupied home, which was now worth $158,000 10 years later, you sell it, you pay off the loan balance of, maybe by then it'd be about $80,000. It was $90,000 to start. Okay. And you've outperformed the S&P 500 by 793%. And this doesn't include positive cash flow. If you made it a rental, it doesn't include tax benefits, a whole bunch of things. It's pretty awesome. Say that, it's pretty awesome, right? It is. Okay, so let's stop this. So that is basically what's coming, right? So, if the people who are the doom and gloomers are right, and we don't know, they're usually wrong. Okay, listen, you can make a ton of money getting clickbait, sensational titles, end of the world, stock market crash, Bitcoin 400,000, Bitcoin crash, gold soaring, all of these Great Depression of 2020, all of those headlines cause people to click and they cause people to search and they get shown, right? Those are the YouTube videos that get the most views, right? All the negative stuff, that's what sells. The old thing you hear in the news media, if it bleeds, it leads, right? But not if we go into a recession soon, a depression, if it gets worse, in other words, we're already in a recession, okay? I don't know how anybody could argue with that. So say that gets a lot worse and there's a housing recession, because there's no housing recession. Housing is booming beyond comprehension right now, and we all know that. But say it turns and it gets really bad. Who do you think is going to get the benefits of loan modifications, short sales, workouts? Who is going to get the help? It is the folks who have leverage, the people who have leveraged their properties, who have borrowed against the properties. Who's not going to get help? The people with lots of equity. In fact, they are going to become the prey to their predatory lenders that look at their portfolio of thousands and thousands of loans, maybe millions, depending on who the lender is, right? And they're going to say, okay, let's divide up this portfolio of loans that we've got out there, and let's look at the loans with the highest amount of equity and the lowest amount of equity that are non-performing. Well, if they've got a high amount of equity and they're non-performing, those lenders are going to move quickly to foreclose on those people because they've got a safety margin, right? That equity gives the lender a safety margin. If they have low equity, the lender is likely to say, hey, let's offer you a short sale. Let's offer you a workout. Let's help you, right? And so it's counterintuitive. And a lot of people just, even now, don't understand that. After watching it through the Great Recession, and then I watched it in the 90s in my career as a traditional real estate agent, brokering properties in Irvine and Newport Beach, California. And, it was unbelievable. People live in their house for free for a year for free, and then their lender gives them a short sale and just lets them off the hook. And the only loss they suffer is a damaged credit report, not money. They gain money because they got a house for free for a year. In some places, they got houses for free for 2-3 years and more. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But let's talk more positively, okay? And let's talk about the amazing time to be alive. I saw this video this morning, and it was fascinating. So I just thought I'd have to share it with you, talking about how people will make money in the future. Check this out. I bet you haven't thought of a lot of these things. This was a great YouTube video, and here we go.
What will work look like in the future? This video takes a look at the sci-fi-like jobs, small business ideas, ways humans will make money in a futuristic world. From controlling robots from home that are working in space, and even stocking grocery store shelves in Tokyo, which is something that is already happening today.
So, you know that there are all these people who work at home on these really strange projects like gene sequencing. And some of these things are gamified. You may not know this. Okay. And there are people all over the world that are playing games on their computer, and the games are sequencing genes. Yes, human genes. It's absolutely amazing, right? And there are doctors obviously doing remote robotic surgery, right? Where they're operating on someone who is halfway across the world. We know this. In the future, there will be people at home controlling robots in space. I mean, the possibilities are just amazing. Technology is absolutely incredible.
To the futuristic autonomous products you can buy that will be able to work by themselves, earning you money, such as a home robotic chef. Is Elon Musk on a secret mission to create tech that allows users to make money autonomously? From Tesla's future robo-taxis and home Powerwall unit to SpaceX's Starlink dish that could one day let users sell an internet connection to their neighborhood, helping people earn money and start small businesses while artificial intelligence starts to take over our jobs. And when the future comes where humans start competing with artificial intelligence and all jobs become automated, will we live in a post-money world where every Earth citizen gets a universal basic income to survive, to not be overruled by artificial intelligence and their companies? We will even take a look at what sort of things Elon Musk was having students taught at his own school to help prepare them for the future.
By the way, subscribe to this YouTube channel. It's called Venture City. They got some really neat videos on there.
In the future, you will be able to work and make money from home by controlling robots doing the work in a factory, store, or even in another country. Telepresence is work that can be done through the use of AR or VR. And with force feedback gloves, you are able to feel the objects you are interacting with when operating the robot. And this is already happening today. The Model T by Telexistence is a remotely operated robot that will start working at Family Mart convenience stores in Tokyo 2022. The workers wear a virtual reality headset and control the robotic arms with controllers. It can move around or on wheels and works by stocking shelves. And this will help with the labor shortage crisis in Japan because of their aging population. These telepresence robots will allow older people in Japan to work in the stores, along with people who live outside of the city. Even people living in other countries can be working and making money as robot control.
Just a comment on that aging population. I was studying some additional demographics this morning. I love the study of demographics. It's just fascinating to me. And of course, we've talked on the show a lot about it in terms of American demographics. But it's interesting when you look around the world. And of course, Japan is an extinct country, basically. It's going extinct. So is Russia. So is Europe. The fertility rates in these countries are abysmal. I mean, they're just not having any children. And if you want to have a country, guess what? You have to have people. So I wouldn't be surprised if Japan, Russia, several European countries literally do not exist in 70 to 100 years. I mean, that is it's a very real thing, and one of the big differences is after World War II. America, for some reason, maybe just because it won the Industrial Revolution, part of the geography had a huge benefit, obviously, and a bunch of other factors. But America won the Industrial Revolution, so maybe that's why all of our soldiers came back from the war and started having families. But that did not happen in that way in Europe or Russia or Japan. Okay, and so it's just a completely different thing. And these countries have such low birth rates. It's absolutely, I think you've got to have about 2.2 to sustain the population. So each woman has to have 2.2 kids. And, they're at like 1.1. I mean, it's just abysmal. There's no way these countries will exist in 70 to 100 years. They will just not be here. So it's absolutely crazy what's going on.
Controllers for these Tokyo convenience stores. The same business idea has been tested in cafes. Japanese startup Ori Lab came up with a way for people who are paralyzed to have employment and make money. These people worked as remote robotic controllers that waited on customers at Donver Cafe. The controllers got $9 per hour. And with crowdfunding, the cafe is expected to open full-time in the next year. Working as a remote robotic controller will be even more beneficial when it comes to more dangerous occupations. People will operate factory machines from the comfort and safety of their own homes. Or firefighters will be operating robots that go into burning buildings. Will there be a time when motorsports have human drivers controlling their race cars and machines remotely, allowing for faster racing speeds and more action? As having humans would make for a more interesting race than just having artificial intelligence control vehicles that lack human emotions and flaws. How will these robotic controller overlords store all of their coin and gold in the future? Will the paper money and coins we use today become relics in the future, along with the plastic credit cards we use? People are already implanting NFC chips into their hands and fingers, allowing them to store Bitcoin keys that can make payments. Further out into the future, our own DNA could be used to store our financial records and allow us to make payments. This sort of
Yeah, and about all the Big Brother abuses that'll come with these things, right? I'm not too keen on the idea of having a chip implanted in my body, or my DNA on record to to store my money, or I don't know. This stuff is just there are so many abuses. You've all seen the movie Minority Report. That's just a small taste of what it could be. Couple comments here. Ecom Tomcat says, Jason, the government already has quantum computers, but they will never be released to the public. Too much power for the lowly citizens. Yeah, of course they have access to all sorts of resources we don't have. Yeah, and we don't even know how significant those resources are. And RR says QE to infinity and beyond. Yes, like Buzz Lightyear. And it's absolute madness. You're right. The rise of the machines. Brady says crypto will win. Well, like we've talked about, which crypto? Will it be a decentralized crypto? Will it be Bitcoin or Ethereum or something like that? I don't think so. I think that the winner will be the cryptocurrency that is sponsored by our government and our Federal Reserve, and then also other governments and other central banks around the world, because it's the one they can force us to use, and they can outlaw the others. So that's what I'm putting my faith in. It's not here yet, thankfully. I don't want it to happen, because with a cryptocurrency, they will gain so much more control over us, and our spending privacy will be absolutely abolished. So it's not that I want it. I'm just saying that's what I think will happen. Nazik says, if the dollar is circulating in the economy, I guess there will be inflation. Yes. Well, the classic definition, right? Large supply of dollars chasing a limited supply of goods and services. Absolutely. And asymmetric pay around. Brady says that. You're probably talking about crypto as an asymmetric bet, I bet. Okay. All-Nighter Hider says, the uneducated economist has some great videos on lumber futures. He works for an Oregon lumber distributor and is financially minded. Yeah, he's great. I saw George interview him, and I've seen some of his stuff myself. He's really good. I like that guy, so I should get him on the show and interview him for sure. a guy, the Zen Economist, has a good take on the video about Jason's George Gammon video. It was suggested to me by the YouTube algorithm. Oh, is that the guy that did the, someone produced a video of George Gammon and I in a boxing match. Who would win? And I sent it to George when I found it, and I thought that was the funniest thing. That was great. I'm flattered that someone would bother to do that. That was really funny. Okay, Ecom Tomcat says, hey, you know what else works when you're at home? Real estate. Yes, it does. You are absolutely right. Cha-ching. And not only that, you get two things for that one. Yes, real estate does work when you're at home. It works beautifully. That's why I love income property, the most historically proven asset class in the entire world. Brady says, I think we will trade our attention and knowledge like personal currencies and less of government currencies. Yes, and you know what? We're already doing that now, interestingly, but we haven't found a good way to be compensated for it yet. The attention economy is certainly upon us. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Okay. Nazik says he agrees that Japan has demographic problems. He read last week companies in Japan are lean and automated. Yes, they have to be. Whether they want to or not. Japan is an odd country in so many ways. I visited there several years ago and just loved it. The Japanese people are so polite. It has got to be like the most polite society. Just what a great place. But in a lot of ways, it's a very unusual country for sure, and a very insular country. So they don't do immigration there, and if they don't, you got to have kids, or clone yourself like Dolly the sheep, or have immigration, or you're just not going to have a country. So they got to figure that out one way or the other, because maybe it'll just be a country of robots. Who knows? Could be. Bill says politicians will step up family building policies. Russia started one. And I think Poland and Hungary did too. Oh yeah, no, many countries did. Bulgaria has one. They pay like $1,000. A lot of these countries in Eastern Europe, they're having a brain drain. People are just leaving and going to the Western countries, but the Western countries are a disaster too. It's just a mess. But yes, they are paying people to have kids, and I'm not sure how well it's working actually, but I have definitely heard about those programs. And Nazik says France has incentives for citizens to have more kids. Not sure if it's working. Well, it's working in terms of the immigrants that have invaded France, no question about it. They are having kids, but the French are not having kids. Okay, so that's what's happening in all of those European countries. Okay, yeah. So anyway, let's keep going here. Let's keep going, folks.
Tech is already being used today. The Netflix show Biohackers has used synthetic DNA to store 1 million copies of the first episode, proving that this tech is more science than fiction. Telepresence work gets even more advanced when looking at medicine. In the 1970s, NASA suggested that researchers look into the option of remote-controlled robots to operate on astronauts. In 2006, Anvari used a robot to sew up a cut on someone living in the ocean at the Aquarius underwater base to simulate space telesurgery might be like. In 2001, the first transatlantic operation was conducted by surgeons in New York on a patient in France. By 2025, the U.S. Department of Defense wants to have a trauma pod that will allow surgeons to perform operations on soldiers from a distance. Today, Ava Robotics has telepresence robots deployed in hospitals that are allowing doctors quarantined at home to stay present in emergency rooms. And they also allow nurses to monitor and care for patients without having to enter the room and worry about personal protective equipment. Before artificial intelligence takes over all of our work, this type of telepresence work could be used in almost every industry. Truck drivers will have their jobs replaced by self-driving trucks, such as the Tesla Semi. But then there will be new jobs where humans monitor a fleet of self-driving trucks. And if one has an issue, the human can log in and see through the truck's camera
But remember, the numbers there are dismal. Okay, one human can, manage a fleet of 100 trucks, probably, maybe more. So that's 99 jobs that were lost. Okay, this is going to be a huge issue. Transportation is one of the biggest industries in the entire world. If you think of all the transportation related jobs, and they're just going to be taken over by the robots. It's a pretty interesting time. So far, this fear of technology has not caused these massive job losses that people thought it would cause throughout history. Maybe this time it's different, though. I don't know, because the technology now is so pervasive. It can do so much more in a world where we have, billions, if not trillions, of sensors sensing everything, sensing, temperature, light, feel, just everything. Everything will be sensed, right? And relayed back to various computers through the internet. And computers can write poetry. They can compose music. They can write articles. This is already true today. They'll be driving vehicles. They'll be delivering, drone delivery, and the ratio in terms of humans needed to the amount of technology controlled and the results delivered, they're staggering. I mean, the job losses will be staggering. But on the flip side of that, the prosperity created by that technology will be enormous, because think about how efficient companies like Amazon become when they have drone delivery, right? A huge part of their cost structure just falls away. And, of course, the problem is, right? Yes, people are broadly enriched by that. And yes, consumer prices go down. That's deflationary. And yes, shareholders who own stock in these companies are enriched. But largely, it's a winner take all. And that's the problem. It's not winner take all, it's winner take the vast majority. And you know who that is in this case is Jeff Bezos, right? He and his marginal ethics. That's the problem. It puts more consolidation at the top and makes us more of a banana republic. So these are all very disconcerting issues for sure.
What to do, and even send out other robots to fix the issue. That is, until the AI learns how the humans are solving these issues and learns how to do it by themselves.
You heard that, right? So the humans operate the fleet at first, then the AI learns how to do it better, and then takes over the human's job. And even that 1 to 100 that I mentioned goes away. And now it's like 1 to 1,000 trucks. One human can operate a fleet of 1,000 trucks instead of 100 trucks. And now it's 1 to 1. It's one human per truck. So, big changes for sure.
What if you could control robots that are not even on Earth, but are out in space? In our other video called Space Inc., the link is in the description, we showed all of the new space businesses and tech being launched. There are a number of products, such as a faster internet cable, that can only be efficiently made in microgravity. So could there be a day when there are autonomous and humanless microfactories orbiting Earth? Materials get sent up, and the finished product gets loaded on a rocket sent back to Earth. People on Earth will be controlling robots in these space factories. And there will be many more new jobs being created for the new industrial space age. Elon Musk plans to send 1 million people to Mars by 2050, which will create a large number of space-based jobs on Mars and here on Earth.
So now just consider the distribution of those jobs, okay? The blue-collar person does not get those jobs. The minimum wage worker does not get those jobs. These jobs go to educated people, not necessarily college educated, because I think now finally we've overcome that stigma, thankfully, because college is a scam and a ripoff. It wasn't always a scam and a ripoff, but in the last several decades, since the government started insuring student loans through Sallie Mae, it became a scam and a ripoff. Classic definition of inflation. Too many dollars chasing a limited supply of education. But that supply is now only artificially constrained because one professor in each topic could teach the entire planet the subject. It's infinitely scalable. That one professor can be on Zoom. That most brilliant Harvard professor can be on Zoom and teach the entire world the topic. Anybody who wants to learn, Harvard law, right? The law professors can teach the whole world the topic. Medicine, law, whatever, any topic, right? It's infinitely scalable through the internet, but it's artificially constrained by the fake, disgusting college government debt enslavement complex. It's an absolute scam. So that is a fake scarcity that they've created. That was a real scarcity many years ago. The lecture halls were only so large. They only had so many professors. They had to be choosy about who they would let in. Sure, at one time, the scarcity was real. It's not real anymore. Now it's just fake. And they're trying to keep it that way so they can charge these absurd tuition prices. But let's go back to Mars.
He has said that Mars will have a labor shortage for a long time, so jobs would not be in short supply. He has also said that there will be a number of problems that people will need to work on to help set up the Mars habitat. He has joked about putting a job listing on the SpaceX website looking for an urban planner for Mars. Today, you can even see school degrees that specialize in building in space, such as the Colorado School of Mines that has a program in space resources, while the University of Michigan has a master's degree in space engineering, all of which are helping to teach the new generation that will begin building bases on the moon and Mars.
Let's talk about space resources for a moment. So as you probably know, asteroids contain an incredible amount of very valuable minerals. And those have now been successfully brought back to Earth by the Japanese. They just achieved that like 2 weeks ago, right? They brought material from an asteroid, mined from an asteroid, back to Earth. And they called it what did they call it? They didn't call it Pandora's box, but maybe that's what it should be called. They called it like the goodie box or something. It was basically brought back to Earth, right, by an unmanned spaceship, and totally incredible. Now, just think of the things that we now consider to be valuable, because the two drivers of value this is my own opinion, okay? The two primary drivers of economic value of anything are, number one, scarcity, and number two, utility, okay? It can be scarce, but if it's not useful, then it's not that valuable. Or it could have utility, but it could be abundant, and then it's not that valuable either, right? So scarcity and utility drive up the price of any commodity. And so all of these minerals on these asteroids are so valuable on Earth, but they're massively abundant in space. Yet on Earth, they've got, it's hard to get to them. There's a limited supply. Remember in the 70s when everybody was concerned about peak oil? Well, what changed? It's not that there was suddenly so much more oil created by the Earth, although there may be some if you believe in what's called the abiotic theory, meaning that the Earth keeps creating more and more oil just naturally, which may or may not be true. I don't know. But what happened is fracking, right? Better technology came along and unlocked a whole bunch more of these natural resources that we thought we would run out of. We thought we would run out of this in the 70s, right? We thought it was the end. It was this Malthusian fear of peak oil. And remember the gas lines and all of this craziness, right? And now gas is cheap. It's cheaper than it was back then. Adjusted for inflation, gas is cheaper today than it was in the 70s. So this is what's going to happen with all of these commodities that we think are valuable now. When they are mined from asteroids, they're going to be abundant. it's going to be very deflationary. That's a deflationary component for sure.
Coming up next, buying autonomous products that can make you money, living in a post-money world, Elon Musk on education and what future jobs will be like, and a list of sci-fi-like future jobs such as a digital life designer and being a brain-to-computer personal trainer. As people are operating machines in space, back here on Earth, you will be able to buy autonomous tech, meaning that once you have paid for them, they will be able to go out and make money on their own. Elon Musk has said that in the future, your Tesla car will have settings that allows you to share it. You can set it so that your family or certain friends can have access to your self-driving Tesla, and you can set what time you need it back. And there will be an option to share it with the public, making it act as a self-driving robotaxi, earning money while you are at work or sleeping, instead of having it just parked, not doing anything. Elon Musk estimates that a single robotaxi could make its owner $30,000 a year. The plan is to use the existing Tesla mobile.
By the way, I just want to make the point here that Elon has way overpromised on this stuff. Okay. And, the video is clearly falling for all of his promises, right? So take all this with a grain of salt. It appears to be much further away than what he was, promising, which he's famous for, right? He's famous for missing deadlines and overpromising, but he still eventually delivers on a lot of this stuff. Now, I owned 2 Teslas, and I thought the first one was okay. It was a Model S, but then I got a Model X, and that was an absolute piece of junk. It was the worst car I ever had in my life. And after arguing with Tesla for 10 months, they actually took it back and gave me a refund. I couldn't believe it. That was pretty good, but it was really hard to get them to do that. But they did finally give me a refund because the car was such a piece of absolute junk. So I'm not like any huge Tesla fan, okay? I think the electric car is not ready for prime time. I think there are many issues with it. And Toyota, by the way, the CEO of Toyota just came out with an interesting statement on that. How he talked about how electric cars are just totally overrated and for many reasons. Okay. But look, that's not the point of our discussion, right? The fact is Tesla is they did reinvent what a car is about. They made it more of a software product than a hardware product, which is fantastic. They've done a lot of incredible things, obviously. I think their stock price is absolutely nuts. And I think Elon is a master of financial manipulation, but it's neither here nor there. He is a visionary for sure, and a lot of interesting stuff about the future. But I do think this thing's overhyped. Okay, this taxi, it'll come eventually, but it's further out than it looks.
Mobile app where owners will add their cars to the shared fleet to earn money from their robotaxis. The California Public Utilities Commission has approved 2 new programs that allow autonomous vehicle operators to launch their own robotaxis in the state. The 2 new programs allow companies to offer passenger services and ride shares in self-driving vehicles. What other products?
Now, by the way, it should be noted, California, of course, has said that by 2035, just 14 years from now, the state has to be 100% electric cars. And this coming from a state that cannot keep the rolling blackouts from stopping, right? They have rolling blackouts all the time and brownouts in California. The state is an absolute disaster, okay? But yet they now say we got to have electric cars. And by the way, one of the things that the Toyota CEO was saying about the electric cars is that the power grid can't handle it. It's not built to have everybody driving an electric car. It's not even close to being able to supply enough energy to have a fleet of all electric cars for the entire country or the world. It's just so far away from that, unless these cars suddenly learn how to just sip a lot less energy than they currently do, right? So, the electric car is highly overrated, if you ask me. It's not completely overrated. It's just overrated. It's highly overrated.
And autonomous robots could you buy that will start working and making money for you? There are smart homes, such as the ones that use Tesla's Powerwall to store energy. Not only can this store energy from the solar panels on the roof and sell the excess energy back to the power grid, it could also be programmed to receive and store energy from the grid when prices are low, which is in the middle of the night, and then sell it back to the grid during peak hours at a profit. Will there be home cooking robots that could cook meals to be sold and delivered around different neighborhoods? Check out our video on robots that are already cooking in restaurants today. The link is in the description. Could SpaceX's Starlink internet dishes allow people who buy a dish to distribute and sell excess internet bandwidth to their neighborhood, making it the third product after Tesla's robo-taxis and Powerwall that Elon Musk has created that allows people to make money? Will there be more powerful home cleaning robots that people could buy, which can easily drive into homes through a robot door and clean the houses while the homeowners are out? Or what about buying an autonomous drone? It could be programmed to do different things, from tracking down lost pets using their chips, examining roofs for damage, or for security. And people in a neighborhood could simply use their phone to hire the drone, and it will automatically do its job and send you a report. What will our future look like in a post-money world? When it comes to money, Elon Musk has said that this thing we call money is just a slow, lossy, and unsecure database for labor allocation. Investing is meaningless without people, at least until...
Did you hear that? That was interesting. It's what do you say? It was a slow, glossy symbol for labor allocation, right? Or something like that. Anyway, I didn't quite catch it. But that's really interesting. It is just a symbol for labor allocation and investment allocation, right? So interesting point. So let's get into that, and then we will wrap this up.
Until artificial general intelligence happens, which will remove our need for labor and will mean that we need a universal basic income. Artificial general intelligence will be a machine that can learn any new skill and complete any task by itself. Today, AI can usually only perform one specific task, say driving a car or speech recognition. They have been trained to perform that specific task and can't learn a completely different task. But artificial general intelligence will be able to. So what happens when we have limitless labor in the form of AI and robots? When artificial general intelligence is achieved, all mental and physical tasks that humans work on today will be solved by an AI. All manufacturing will be achieved by nanofabricators, and all energy requirements will be met or exceeded with nuclear fusion and or solar energy.
Now, just notice that they've completely failed to mention that this is the part where the robots take over the world and terminate us humans. You did see the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, right? In all the Terminator movies, right? They just left that part out, the scary part, but whatever.
At this point in the future, there will be no reason to have money, as everything we need will be available for free and our labor will not be required. A universal basic income, or UBI, is the idea that every citizen in a society is paid a fixed basic wage.
So what do you think about this? Does this sound a lot like Karl Marx and Das Kapital? This is like the Communist Manifesto here almost. But what's interesting about it is I interviewed Andrew Yang on the podcast a while ago, and of course he ran for president, as you know, and he's the big one behind UBI, Universal Basic Income. And I have come around to this idea a little bit, and only because so many of my very, very libertarian friends actually think it's okay. I mean, I can hardly believe that they're saying that. I'm like, you think a universal basic income, isn't that a handout? Isn't it welfare? Blah, blah, blah. Wouldn't it cause so much inflation, to just give everybody money to sit around and do nothing? And like in the video, they said everything will be free. Well, not everything. I mean, will the new Louis Vuitton purse be free? Will a private jet be free? Well, of course, it won't all be free. And people naturally, and why communism sounded like a good idea in an ivory tower, okay? In an academic setting, it sounded like a good idea. You could read the Communist Manifesto and think, I was just talking to my friend Jason, another Jason, about this yesterday. You read it in a vacuum and it seems okay, you know, but then in practice, you know, people are ambitious, they're competitive. They want more than their neighbors have. Where do you think the idea of keeping up with the Joneses came from? Okay, that's just human nature. So everybody's not going to accept their basic, you know, universal basic income and whatever their government allotment of, you know, food and clothing and transportation or whatever is. They're going to want more than other people have or more than they have. That's just the way people are. They're competitive. And communism just completely failed to see that. That's what all these utopian communal things just, they just miss that. It's crazy.
If they're not working, this will allow people such as stay-at-home parents to earn money while taking care and raise their children. And students would be able to focus on studying. As economies continue to grow and become more...
What would be the motivation for studying if everything's free? Why would you care about learning more if you could just be a slacker and get everything for free? A couple comments here. One is a real estate one, so I'll get to that one, Nomo, later, because I'm going to kind of interrupt the flow of this tech talk. Visions of Spielberg's first movie, Duel, on those auto trucks. I don't know that movie, so I didn't see that one. Training silicone replacements. Carrie replied to Nomo about Phoenix. Yeah, Phoenix is too expensive. You can't, things don't make sense there. Maybe rent in Phoenix and buy some rental properties. Talk to Carrie about it. She can help you with that, of course. Here's an invention that will happen in the next 200 years. Liquid light, memory light, anti-gravity light. That's from Ecom Tomcat. That's pretty amazing. You heard it here first from me. Okay, we got that hashtag. Oh, gosh. Amazon has technology to deliver goods by drones today. Yeah, they've already done it in England. They're already doing drone delivery there. City regulations, neighborhoods, resistant to noise pollution. Yeah, so there's going to be legislation about all this, of course. And Gray Fox says, big education is way too big. I couldn't agree with you more. It's become a big bureaucracy. Ultimate Bargain says Amazon drone delivery is simply skeet shooting with prizes. Oh, that's hilarious. So you're going to get your shotgun out and shoot those drones down, huh? And then the package will fall to the ground, and I guess you get it. Skeet shooting with prizes. I love it. It's hilarious. And then you also say, mining asteroids is way too expensive. Do not invest in that. Yeah, but it's going to get cheap fast. It's like anything. It will get so... Do you realize first of all, how much cheaper SpaceX made launches? I mean, it's insane how much cheaper it was than with NASA doing it, right? That's just the first tier. But wait till the launches take place from orbit or from the moon. They get incredibly cheap. I mean, it is what costs so much money in a rocket launch is breaking free of Earth's gravity and Earth's atmosphere and then coming back into it. But if you never have to come back in because you process the materials in space or on the moon, and then maybe deliver finished product to Earth, maybe there will be a space elevator. Who knows? There's all kinds of stuff. These prices can fall so quickly that it'll amaze you. It really will amaze you. Yes, it's way too expensive today, but not for long. That will change really, really fast as the commercialization of space happens quickly. And by the way, 2 of our markets that you can find at jasonhartman.com/properties, shameless self-promoter, are really benefiting from the commercialization of space. So don't miss out. There you go. Okay, there's my commercial message. And by the way, there's another one scrolling across the bottom of your screen, so check that one out too. Asteroids are only programmed to dream of goats. I don't know what that means, but I think it's another joke, but I don't get it. Okay, let's go back to this.
Productive because of automation, a UBI works to redistribute the money so that everyone receives the benefits of automation. Andrew Yang calls UBI
There he is.
freedom dividend. The $1,000 per month payment for all American citizens would be paid for by taxing the tech companies that profit from artificial intelligence, such as Amazon and Google. Elon Musk asks, what should we do about mass unemployment, as it will be a massive social challenge, adding that there might not be a choice when it comes to creating a universal basic income. As always, Elon Musk sees much farther into the future. Instead of letting artificial intelligence take over our lives and jobs, a brain-to-computer device will allow humans to merge with AI. This would allow humans to
maybe not.
work at
Who knows?
superhuman levels. Each human would be able to achieve more in the day, and older humans would not have to be forced out of the workforce, as their brain-to-computer devices will keep them productive.
So that one is pretty scary. If you want to talk about Big Brother watching you, knowing your thoughts, being able to control your thoughts, that's pretty scary. The whole Neuralink chip, I don't know about that one, folks. How do you feel about it? Put a comment below. Let me know. But did you hear this one, folks? I'm going to be a little political with you for a moment because I got to make sure you heard this one. Communist idiot AOC, yes, Ocasio-Cortez. Do you know what her latest idea is? She has proposed that Social Security end at age 75. Yeah, let's let the old people just die in the streets, AOC. Unbelievable. I mean, spoken like a true millennial who is just does not care. I mean, she probably thinks the boomers have ruined her life. I'm guessing that's what she thinks. But that's absolutely ridiculous. Or is AOC a Gen Zer? She might be a Gen Z. I don't even think she's a millennial. Is she? How old is she? Does anybody know? Put a note below if you know how old AOC is. Yeah. And Social Security at age 75. Can you imagine? All these people that have been paying into it all their life, and now they would just, die on the streets of starvation because Social Security would end 15 years before they pass away. Unbelievable. Just let's hope she does not get any more power than she currently has.
Elon has said that the best way to predict and understand the future is to understand physics, mostly the thinking behind physics itself and how to break things down.
Okay, this is a commercial.
Called Elon Musk, the scientist behind the CEO, which includes the books he recommends people to.
Okay. Anyway, you got it.
Yeah,
sorry. Okay, so there you go, folks. Was that interesting or what? What did you think of it? What did you think? It's pretty amazing. Now, I want to talk about this one too. This was another fascinating video, but we're not going to have time for this one. So maybe we'll do that next time. We'll do it next time. I think I had a couple things also here. I'll do that one next week probably. And we're not going to have time to get to all this stuff. So I got a bunch of other stuff for you, but only so much time in a day, folks. So let's just see if there are any other good comments here. Asteroids are only programmed to dream of goats. Oh no, androids. Okay. It's another joke. I get it. Okay. All-Nighter Hider says Japan is trying to front run the world with asteroid mining. I'm not falling for that. God can provide all that we need right here on this rock. Well, asteroids will be mined. There's no question. Space resources will be a big commercial business. No question about it. Okay. Let's see here. We're going from one state lie to another. Yes, I agree with that. There's definitely some propaganda. No question. Yeah. Jason loves Tesla X. More fake news. Yes. No, I do not love Tesla for sure. Let's see. Elon is a great salesman. No question about it. A lot of people think he's a crook and a con artist. There's all that to be said for sure. Take a refund and invest in Tesla. Yes, I should have bought stock with a refund on that car. I bet you and Klaus and his reset buddies. Oh, yes, yes, yes. No, I'm not with Klaus and the reset buddies. I think the Great Reset is pretty scary, and I think that guy's a psycho. But we didn't we do a show on the Great Reset? I think we released that last week. We had a 2-part show on the Great Reset. And let's see here. Oh, darn it. I got an aloha from somebody, but then I lost it. And Bill says, still no moving sidewalks and all that technology. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, you guys have some great comments here, but the thing I can't distinguish is they're talking amongst each other, and it's sort of hard for me to follow. He wants brain chips, normal humans to be obsolete. Yes, I am not a fan of Neuralink. I think that is super scary. Totally agree with you there. People need, Musk also says they can do whatever they want. All-Nighter Hider says, God made our minds stronger and faster and more versatile than any machine can ever be. It looks that way today, but I don't know if it'll remain that way. It's pretty amazing, what's going on with AI and so forth. And yes, Renee, it is socialistic, the UBI concept. I agree with you. That's why I interrupted and said, doesn't it sound like the Communist Manifesto, like Das Kapital? It's like Karl Marx. It all sounds good in theory. I get it. But the technology of it is definitely coming either way, regardless of how the structure of society falls down, whether it's with UBI or not. But amazingly, even my most libertarian friends say UBI is coming, whether you like it or not. And I think, COVID may be a prelude to that. There's a lot of logic to that one. Okay. Yikes, crypto needs to teach the globe about how real economies discover market prices. Yes, Brady, you are absolutely right. And I've got a show coming up about price discovery on the podcast. And I was talking with one of our clients the other day. We thought we'd get into the price discovery subject, and we didn't quite get there. But price discovery is one of the most important things of capitalism and of free markets. Without price discovery, you can't have capitalism. You can't have free markets. And I would argue that you can't have anything but tyranny. You've got to have price discovery. Price discovery is such an important concept. Absolutely incredible. Okay, Nazik says, if not UBI, then what's the alternative? We're already in a planned economy. And you're right. We've got the Fed, we've got Fannie Mae, we've got Freddie Mac, we've got PPP. We are in a planned economy. Absolutely. It's a disaster. I don't like it, but it is what it is. We are where we are. Okay, the point of technology should be to make and enhance human lives, not make them meaningless. I agree completely. Technology would serve people. See, the thing is, the momentum of this stuff is so incredibly powerful that, you say that, but that doesn't necessarily make it true. It's just too powerful, the momentum of this stuff. And that's why we might be subjugated. Terminator might be an accurate portrayal of a really dystopian future. Now you've got me motivated. I want to watch the Terminator movies again. I might just do that. Okay. Yes, Musk, definitely. Jonathan, thank you for that. Elon Musk needs to make an electric leaf blower, for God's sake. That would be the biggest contribution to humanity available, because leaf blowers need to go away completely. Okay. We have scarce commodity, idea of almost digitized, final requirement for money and social agenda, social agreement. A population is never confidence in the units of value. Yeah, I get all the problems with fiat currency. I totally get it, and I agree with you completely. But I'm not looking at what I want. I'm looking at what will be is what I'm looking at. And that video, I think, was a pretty good predictor of what will be in a lot of cases. I think UBI is coming, whether we like it or not. And we are going to lose a lot more privacy than we already have. And we're going to lose a lot more control over our lives than we already have. And Klaus and the Great Reset is going to happen, at least in parts of our lives and parts of the world. There's no question about it, that all of those socialist world leaders are behind it. They agree with it because it gives them more power. A Great Reset gives the powers that be more power. So why wouldn't they want that? Of course they want that. And I'm not saying it's good for us, but it's good for them. And yeah, it can be tyrannical for sure. So yeah, good comments, folks. I gotta say, I agree with a lot of them, but I don't know that I'm gonna get what I want. We're gonna get where technology and governments and central banks lead us. That's what we're gonna get. Okay, so we've got to plan and invest for that, and align our interests with the most powerful forces the human race has ever known, as I always say. So that's it for now. I'll be back tomorrow with another podcast. We will be 5 days a week until the end of the year. And then we are going 3 days a week for 2021. But, focusing those extra 2 days that we're not doing podcasts on YouTube and on live streams and more events and courses and all that good stuff. If you want to get our asset protection program, which, by the way, some of you said you checked out the webinar and you just haven't gotten around to doing it, you got to do this stuff, folks. It's super cheap and super easy. jasonhartman.com/protect. It's on the bottom of your screen. And check our main website, just jasonhartman.com. Reach out to any of our team members. They'd be glad to help you fulfill all your income property financial goals. And we just had another client of ours close on a whole bunch of properties this week. So he's got a big portfolio now. And guess what his goal is? He wants to get to 500 units. 500 units. And ambitiously getting there. Closed on a big portfolio this week. So congratulations to all of our clients who are doing big, inspiring things with their income property portfolios. It's awesome. And I applaud you for it. And I want to say thanks to everybody for joining me tonight. And happy holidays and Merry Christmas to all. And we will talk to you next week and all week long on the podcast. Thanks again, everybody.